Good morning, everyone. We are here today for the IPMA SIG Artificial Intelligence, and we're here with Akso Momcilovic, right? So,
Yes.
hi, nice to meet you, Akso. He will talk us about the leveraging artificial intelligence for project management. So he will give us some insights of his project. And for all those that are subscribed to the IPMA SIG, please know that we will send you the badge because you're participating in the conference. So Akso, please.
As you very nicely introduced, we have today's topic of the webinar, leveraging AI for project management. So maybe just a few words about me to get a better picture. So my initial education, I'm a psychologist. I finished my executive MBA, then some specific educations, and currently I'm doing my PhD in digital economics. Of course, no surprise with the topic of artificial intelligence. A big part of my career I spent in the human resources, which I'm also currently partially doing in some international companies, but also some European unicorns. I'm lecturer in many different business schools. I'm also the co-founder of Global AI Ethics Institute, which is established in Paris, and a board member of Crow AI, the Croatian Association for Artificial Intelligence. I'm member of many organizations like MBA Croatia, Voice of the Entrepreneurs, and IPMA. And you can easily find me on the social networks, right? So I invite all of those who didn't already connected with me to find me on LinkedIn. I will be happy to continue this conversation after the webinar finishes to share some insights and comments from your side. So today, what is the general plan to speak about and to talk about with you? So it's overview of the artificial intelligence in today's world, right? Then we are going to kind of define it in the context of project management. And I split that part in before and kind of recent development of the event. So current trends and examples in project management, first tryouts and ideas. And then we will have in the last 20 minutes, I hope, some time for the discussion and for the Q&A. There is a lot of materials that I gathered, and I just wanted to put them inside for you to be aware of them, or maybe to later to get them in the materials, but there will be no time to go through all of them and to read everything that is inside. So in general, what are my goals? What would I like to achieve in this webinar? So basically set the stage, and very important, the context for the future exploration of the topic, artificial intelligence inside of the project management. Also give a brief overview of what happened so far until, let's say, recent year and a half, and lightly touch upon the current status, right? And of course, this would be my most important goal, to open as many questions as possible, because as you're probably aware, it is quite wide field with many different discussions that we can have inside. So to start with, if we are speaking about the AI predictions, and if we are kind of having the binary approach, if you have like ones and zeros, so what are the differences when people are doing predictions? And you're going to see few of them through these presentations. What is in the extremes of these dimensions? So very obviously, on one side, we are having this optimistic, I would say, utopian point of view that AI is going to unlock human creativity on the grand scale. It is going to allow us innovation. It is going to help us in many ways, imaginable and unimaginable today. And there are many experts who are really looking forward to that and really convinced that this is how it's going to be in the future and not the distant future. But then on the other side, we have this pessimistic or dystopian view, right? And there is one quote that is kind of resonating with it. So when artificial intelligence comes out of age, the first thing it's going to get rid of are the inefficient parts, right? And then guess who that will be? So the question is, what will happen to us? And then again, on this part of spectrum, there are very serious, very respectable world-level scientists who are really seriously warning us about that, who are telling us, look, we need kind of to slow down. We need to be sure where we are going, right? And some of them are even saying it's not enough to slow down the development. There were some quite drastic propositions that we need to shut it all down, like immediately, because we are not sure what is going to happen. But as I said, this is kind of pessimistic view. So even if you're leaning to any of those sides, there are many quotes that are more or less similar to this one. So I chose it randomly, basically. What all agree is that impact of AI is astronomical, and that we haven't even scratched the surface in the year 2023 or 2024, right? So this was the CEO of Dubai Future Foundation, but you can see very similar things from many other business and leaders and world leaders. So usually, and I prepared a very set of different educations for the business managers about the artificial intelligence. One thing that I'm going through are the definitions. And don't be afraid, this is not the part that I will go through today. I'm just here kind of to remind you that you should think about it. What is your definition? Can you define it? Because what probably all of us here can agree that artificial intelligence is a buzzword, right? So it's kind of everywhere. It's in the media. A lot of people are using it regardless of their definitions, or even sometimes because of the lack of the definition of artificial intelligence. But also, what we in the, let's say, broader field of research of artificial intelligence and its socioeconomic impacts like to say, artificial intelligence is kind of the umbrella term, right? So there are different methodologies and technologies that are underneath it, right? So you have from machine learning and some newer things that we are going to mention today to some, let's say, old school expert systems, right? So it's not like one unique thing, but again, it is important to connect it with the definition, and the discussion about the definition can be quite philosophical one. As I mentioned, I'm not going to go there and to offer you some definitions, but I want to mention and kind of to raise the awareness that we have different sources of definitions, right? So we have the classic dictionary definitions by companies that are in the same time developing artificial intelligence, definitions by media, universities, and some, let's say, famous people in the field, experts. What is interesting, and I'm going to mention it to you, that I found also the project management definition of artificial intelligence, which is quite operational and usable in that way. So then, again, usually if we would have more time, I would go through basic terms. And there are like 20 to 30 basic terms that are connected with the field of artificial intelligence that are good to be defined and to understood if you are communicating on that level. Again, not the topic of this presentation. The only thing that I'm going to show you is this visual representation in those circles, because there you have like artificial intelligence as umbrella term. Then inside you have machine learning, then you have deep learning. And then in the recent few years, or recent year and a half in the public, you have something that is called generative artificial intelligence. Inside of it, large language models, and then generative pre-trained transformers, and then inside you have the ChatGPT one. Now I think it's a household name, as they want to say. So it is good for us to be at least aware of those things and what is the relationship between all of those circles. Good thing following our presentation, when we are going to speak about older approaches and older data, and the newer one is to kind of differentiate between traditional artificial intelligence and the generative. So traditional AI are primarily used to analyze data and make predictions, while generative AI, large language models, for example, go one step further. So they're creating a new data that is partially similar, then change with our input to its training data. So this is something that could be down the line, let's say, quite interesting for those who are using those tools, right? And the foundations, of course, are not a mystery, I would say. I think that it is very clear today that all of those AI algorithms and models are basically living on data. But when we are speaking about data, first question is how big is the big data? So you can see here some projections, what was happening. You can see the volume of the data that is created, and you can see the predictions here going to 2025, but it goes with this curve even further. So it's 175 ZBs, so it's zettabytes. So I think it's 10 on the 26th, something like that. So we are obviously speaking about enormous amount of data. But what do we need to know about this data and artificial intelligence and how to use it? So what do we have exactly? Because you're going to see in this projection, yes, we have a lot of data and it's all growing out. But the structured data is only small part. The unstructured data is something that is growing, I think, much faster. And artificial intelligence is very interesting mediator in this part and can a little bit, I would say, help us. So the question for every company and for every professional is basically how much of your data currently is structured, right? Do you know the estimate for your company? Because it would be good to know it can make some of the processes and some of the decisions that you need to make a little bit faster and more efficient, I would say. So then, getting to the types of artificial intelligence, this is where I will spend a little bit time on, right? Because as I see it, the general problem in the media is that they're calling everything artificial intelligence. So they're all bundling it up without any differences about what they're speaking about. And they're basically speaking about all the three types that we are going to mention, but kind of interchangeably. So the first type is something that is called artificial narrow intelligence, right? What is it? It is artificial intelligence that can effectively perform a narrowly defined task, right? So it is one thing, but artificial intelligence excel in. So then the question is, and usually we kind of discuss it, what artificial narrow intelligence programs do you know? What are you aware of? And I guarantee you that basically everybody, every professional is very well aware, at least of some of them, because they are quite famous and for a long period of time. So how to describe it? The first good example, it was happening, this kind of battle between humans and algorithms that were performing chess, right? So you maybe remember even, or you heard of it, in 1997, the world champion Garry Kasparov lost from the IBM's Deep Blue. So it was quite some time now. And this is a good example of the narrow intelligence, right? The story has its continuation. Everybody heard about chess and Garry Kasparov, but a little bit less people heard about a game that is called AlphaGo, right? So there is a game that is, surprisingly for me, but it is much more complex than chess, has much more possibilities. So then experts at that time were kind of not sure if artificial intelligence will ever be able to have enough computational power to defeat humans in chess. And as you can imagine, I think in 2016, one of the best world players, Lee Sedol, lost from the narrow artificial intelligence that was that good in playing AlphaGo, right? So then a lot of eyebrows kind of were raised. Then we have the second type of artificial intelligence, and this is something that usually we are kind of intuitively thinking about. It's artificial general intelligence, right? So then again, not returning to the definitions, but in general, it's similar to the intelligence that is performing any task that a human being can do, right? It can be decision-making, communicating in natural language, interesting part, making jokes, we will see about that, manipulating people, trading stocks, or, very important part, able to reprogram itself. So this is a very interesting part of this definition. So then for us, the question is, can we create artificial intelligence? Can we kind of imagine it? Obviously, we can imagine it. About whether we can create it or not, there is still no final verdict. But you will see some kind of estimations and predictions, right? This was our, in timeline, the human progress over the time. And some experts are kind of wondering if we are at this point where we are going to see the explosion of intelligence because of the systems that we create. And this is something that was coming out in the, I think, recent months. So you can see the Zuckerberg's goal is to create artificial general intelligence, addressing it specifically. So they're saying their Meta is on the path. Then you have Sam Altman, the CEO of the OpenAI, so also very famous company in the field. He's saying human tier artificial intelligence is coming soon. How soon, we still don't know, but he's very sure that it will change the world a little bit less than we all think. Okay. And then we have Elon Musk. He is very precise, although giving very often wrong estimations, but he said that we could get to artificial intelligence or even some more advanced intelligence in 5 to 6 years. So basically, this is very, very, very close. So when I said artificial intelligence, there are a serious number of experts around the world who are not sure that we are going to get there. But what is interesting, that if we get to the artificial general intelligence, most of the people are convinced that then we are going to get to the artificial super intelligence. Because if you remember, there is that reprogramming part of itself, because artificial general intelligence could make advancements on itself, right? What is artificial superintelligence? Well, definition is that ultra-intelligent machine can be defined as a machine that can far surpass all the intellectual activities of any man, however clever he is. And some are going even further, saying not the capacities of the smartest man, but the capacity of all human beings on the planet. So you can kind of try to imagine the scale of its intelligence. So usually then we start speaking a little bit about the exponential curve, how the computational power is getting closer from the insect brain to the mouse brain. I think that we are somewhere close there. Then to the level of one human brain, and then it's not far away where all the human brains on the planet are. So if we were speaking time-wise, it's not that far away. And again, this is like old estimation about when it's going to happen. This is interesting for me. So if we are going to hit this tripwire and human brains become smart enough to create artificial intelligence and artificial superintelligence, then we have this explosion of artificial intelligence. And then on the left side, if you ask people, how smart do you think it could be? Usually they're going to say like IQ 500 or 1,000 or I don't know, 2,000, which is much smarter than human. But actually, it's much further on the line. It could be like million, 10 million, if we can even measure. So this is something that is very counterintuitive for us to understand. And usually, I spend a little bit more time explaining this. So those of you who are interested in this part, I can recommend one book. It is written in 2004 from Ray Kurzweil, The Singularity is Near. So what is he stating? Basically, that we could reach a point where artificial intelligence becomes so powerful that it abruptly triggers a chain reaction of self-improvement and runaway technological growth, right? In that case, we would have basically unknown consequences. We cannot predict what is going to happen there. So it is kind of still in the realm of futurism, right? The science fiction a little bit, but on the other hand, less and less. So for example, this is one also very recent research. If you're looking expected years until artificial general intelligence, it is shrinking down, right? Like a few years ago, estimation was like, yeah, it's going to be in half of the century. Then 1 year later, it was 30-something years. Then less than 20 years. Now we are, as you've seen Elon Musk's prediction, it's less than 10 years. which is a little bit uncomfortable with a good reason, I think. Of course, it is still estimation. It is not absolute truth. We will see what's going to happen, but still very interesting to perceive. What we are currently commenting here, and I'm focusing on that, is artificial narrow intelligence. This is also a recent study published few weeks ago. If you are looking at the risks, the artificial general misinformation is recognized as one of the top global risks in this year, especially because it is, as they call it, the super election year around the world. And then the speed. So this is the quote, and I could kind of paraphrase it with similar things from many experts around the world. So tracking progress is getting increasingly hard because progress is accelerating. This progress is unlocking things critical to economic and national security. And if you don't skim papers each day, you will miss important trends that your rivals might notice and exploit, right? So then the question is, what can we do? What should we do? And the answer itself, I would say it's trivial. Of course, we said it many times, and I think it's understandable for most of the people that yes, we need to educate ourselves. This is clear. But the real question, which is more interesting to me, is what does that exactly mean? How often? Once in a few months, quarterly, once per month, weekly? Should we do it on a daily basis? I'm not sure. If you're following the artificial intelligence area, as I am, you probably need to do it on a daily basis. Otherwise, you're going to miss certain things. Take this report under consideration. It was done by IBM, but also some other companies with the same results. So IBM said 40% of workers will have to reskill in the next 3 years, right? Because of the artificial intelligence. So if you're wondering what 40% of the workers globally mean, yes, they also put a very concrete number on it. It's 1 billion people that will need to undertake this change and educational efforts in the 3 years, which is not that long period, right? And then the question is how to bring the artificial intelligence closer to the people. And this is one of the topics that I was dealing with in the last few years, and I'm still involved. So just to mention one of them, I created the AI Art Singularity project, which is kind of creating AI-generated pictures that people can see, feel, and kind of motivate themselves to start learning about the technology. And currently you are lucky because one of them is underway. So I'm organizing, it is focused on my country mainly, but the next one will not be the AI business hackathon. It's not about the technical part. It's about the ideas. And you will understand that also through the second part of the presentations. What we're currently missing is the ideas of the application. Technology is there and it's going to continue developing, but we need to engage ourselves in the process. And this is challenging parts for the companies, for the states, for the individuals. So to get a little bit, since we are not having that much time, artificial and project management, and I said like before, and in this case, before means 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's not that long ago. So what is happening there? I don't know how many of you are aware, but IPMA created a very nice report in 2020, Artificial Intelligence Impact in the Project Management. Probably many of you have read it, so maybe to remind about a few things. 3 reasons identified for adoption: improved decision-making, increased level of productivity, better performance and reporting. All still very valid, I would say, today. The level at which should be made the decision regarding the implementation, 30% the project team, but if you're looking a little bit different information, level of decisions in relationship with AI usage in organization, for those who are using it, it is connected 31% with the project management level. So there was 4 years ago definitely involvement. A lot of barriers, and this is not the final list of it, but limited understanding of artificial intelligence. This is why usually in different companies and in different branches, I go through through the lengthier first part, but also deciding about the AI applications and many other things. From the management aspects, team needs prediction followed by customized aid, team members' profiles in order to predict their actions, and many other things that were found in the research. Again, challenges, the main ones were flexibility, changing the organization of work, and team agility, right? So they're all connected with human resources in a way. Top 3 changes made by artificial intelligence in the part of more time for the complex managerial tasks. And this is something that very interestingly other research from different sources kind of confirmed. More time for leading the project team and less time for routine managerial tasks. This is usually one of the, I would say, leading aspects. And then if you're speaking about the evolution, right? So this is then the question to be debated, how long it will take. But what we have on one side, we started with integration and automation of some tasks. Then we got to the chatbots and assistants, and then machine learning-based project management. We are there currently, I would say. And then the prediction is autonomous project management with a big question mark in some discussions. So I have it on the next slide, but I will not spend too much time on it, but integration and automation is connected with task creation, with different templates and workflows, budgeting and scheduling issues where it can be very, very useful. Chatbots part, it can be used, for example, to recognize tasks and assignments, to recognize the top contributors, and then to give you the opportunity to decide what to do with them later. Machine learning-based projects, again, I think many of them are now underway. I know some companies in Croatia that are focused on that, identifying the best team for a task, for example, and many other interesting things. But if you're speaking about autonomous project management, at that moment, there were not real-life use cases supporting fully autonomous project management. So this is then something also for us kind of to reflect and to see how close are we there. Do we have something that is on that level yet? And very interestingly, when it is going to come. But this is more into the realm of the prediction, so I'm not going to go into that direction, right? This was an interesting quote. When using AI in project management, you also have to remember that project management covers various disciplines, right? So if we are comparing the things by contrast with intelligent agents, which are a very interesting part, that operate in a defined and stable environment. This is important part. The social, dynamic, and uncertain environment within which a project has to be delivered this is what is making the project management much more complex. So there are kind of estimations that there is only limited usability of artificial intelligence in the project management, which is partially, I would say, questioned so far. So then, again, some authors split it on the 3 levels: the technical level of project management, the strategic level, and the leadership level. And then again, on a technical level, we are having project management assistants, bots, machine learning algorithms that are kind of providing data-driven insights. But on the strategic level and business management, AI can help, as it is written here, by preparing the parameters, identifying interdependencies, and forecasting business outcomes. So those who would be able to utilize this part of artificial intelligence, you can imagine, would have a significant advantage in comparison to the others. And the leadership part, which is also a very interesting one, connected with guiding, leading, motivating people, motivating the team members, but also kind of facilitating candidate selection in the first process. What is true, and I think that this is a quote from one research which is still true today: implementation is delayed, right? Implementation of AI is often delayed due to managers being uncertain how it can be used in their organizations, right? And I think that this is a real problem. This is something that we need to address and something that we need to focus our attention on, to see what are the causes for that and how can we remedy that problem. Because there is like a normal distribution. There are like 5, maybe to 10% of the project managers and experts in any field who are very advanced in the usage. But there are like 50%, even 70% that are doing, I would say, close to nothing, right? And there is this specific for the project management definition of artificial intelligence. It is autonomous non-human entities that can take in information from their environments and act upon their environment in a way that enables them to succeed in their goals. So it is kind of leaning to this old school definition. It is very operational, and I think it's not taking under consideration the new generative artificial intelligence that was created relatively recently. But what most of the authors agree is that project professionals who took part believe that complex projects are more likely to benefit from artificial intelligence compared to a simple project. So if you're doing on more complex projects, probably you should focus even more on the artificial intelligence solutions. So then there are also other research who are very interesting for us, answering some of the questions. So in which project phase would you most likely use artificial intelligence? So it is to monitor and control activities during the deployment and execution phase. Okay, very interesting. What is your preferred element of artificial intelligence? So check this change that happened. So it was like planning, problem solving, probably at the time. But what was very low is speech and language processing, only 3%. And I can guarantee you that this part kind of skyrocketed in the last year because of the new capabilities that we are having. So you can see that the shift in 2 or 3 years can change significantly. Do we have to change? When you ask the project managers, 90% says yes, this is obvious. We will definitely have to change the way that we work. You have different types of projects, but this was an interesting quote for me. Complex projects consist, of course, of many unknowns. Using AI technology reduces some of our unknowns, and it will help us. It will help us in that way. So, just to go through the things that I bolded, how do you think it could directly help you? So there is a number of research and papers who are summarizing it. So automation, repetitive and time-consuming tasks, providing real-time insights into project performance. Automation of data analysis and market research that could be very useful, identifying trends and insights, which is now much more automatic and could be faster and done with better quality with even current tools, financial modeling and analysis, identifying patterns. Or I put here one specific use case for the healthcare, because you can then again go through the different industries when you're basically using patient data analysis and then creating informed decisions about the treatment plans, right? So the health industry is very much on my radar, and I have a lot of interest in it. On the other hand, this was the question that was raised. Is the potential of artificial intelligence overestimated, right? Because as mentioned before, not many companies are understanding all of the important parts that are connected to it. And then in the second, the biggest part, just kind of to remind you, where are we now? What is happening actually? And you can see already some of the educations that are available, like ChatGPT for project managers, from basics to advanced. You have ChatGPT plugins. So for example, TaskML is facilitating machine learning tasks, or Dart is designed to facilitate task and project management, create lists, update tasks, to-dos, action items, right? And if you go to ChatGPT and check the plugins, you can find some of them. So there are already existing plugins like a Logistics Superhero, Project Management, Assisted Project Management, GPT. And I'm convinced that many more are going to come. So there is also one question for you. Maybe it is time to do like IPMA plugin that is going to be designed by the company and published. And I think that this could be a very serious idea for the leadership of the organization. And then we have some plugins that are not specific for the project managers, but that project managers are reporting that they're using them on a daily basis, right? So again, I will just name them. So you have like Talk to ChatGPT, you have Web ChatGPT, You have ChatGPT sidebar. You have AI This is one that I'm using on a daily basis for ChatGPT. And you have, for example, Chat PDF, which is allowing you to basically to chat with the book that you put inside of the ChatGPT. So some of them are very useful for your colleagues all around the world. And then we have challenges. Of course, the list of the challenges is quite long. I showed you on one of the previous slides, and I wanted to focus on the next slide on one that I bolded. So yes, I think the data security is a problem, balancing AI and human expertise, training and adoption, all very real. But in the companies that I worked with, I think that the most important one, which you also might feel, is the resistance to change, right? There are a lot of people who are still kind of afraid of artificial intelligence, who are not certain what it's going to be, who are not willing to learn. So all of us who are trying to implement something in this field probably will need to address this challenge first, right? Regarding the areas, and this is one of the last parts, which I just wanted to bring your attention to it. So this could be a potential additional webinar, right? There is research that is basically showing you that you can go deeply into every one of the segments of the project. So areas in which you can explore a little bit further the application. It is obviously present in the project integration management, project scope management, project time management, project cost management, project quality management, and they're having, I kind of a little bit blank them out. They are not real, but you have concrete examples: project resource management, project communication management, project risk management, project procurement management, stakeholder management. And I'm only speaking about things that somebody found the applications inside of the ChatGPT and then created something like use cases and the prompts on this slide, right? So you have like prompts or prompt templates that you can directly use in some of the areas that are mentioned. So for me, this is something that is definitely very, very worth exploring and seeing if it can benefit you on your daily jobs and on your daily tasks. Things that we should consider. There are questions then again to be discussed inside of the organizations. I wrote like 5 of them here. How it is going to transform the industry? Are we relying too much on it? What skills will project managers need to develop? So how to keep pace, right? Because it is evolving, as I mentioned, quite fast. And what steps can we take today? And I offered you a few of my ideas through this presentation. And then to mention it also, you are already, the organization is doing something. So it is project management in the age of artificial intelligence, which is happening soon, right? So one quote for the last part: imagine a project manager with the ability to foresee every bottleneck, communicate in every language, and optimize resources in real time. Well, you can now stop imagining, because that is AI in project management, basically, already today with artificial narrow intelligence. The future, the last 3 slides, as I said before, it is very uncertain, but take this under consideration. ChatGPT is about to revolutionize the economy. We need to decide what that looks like. And ChatGPT is only one of the small applications of artificial intelligence. On the other hand, be aware that ChatGPT is already obsolete, according to many authors. There are many new things that are happening and that are created, which could be even more impactful. So to conclude with the quote from Bill Gates, right? The age of AI has begun, right? We are living in it. It is here. We cannot avoid it. We cannot ignore it. We can only decide what we are going to do with that. So it is a good, I think, motivation for everybody, if they're not on the wagon, to jump there and to join all of those things that are happening. And with that, I will finish. Thank you very much for your attention. I leave now some time for a discussion, for any questions that you might have and any insights that you want to share with the audience. Thanks. And I will stop sharing. Stanza.
Okay.
Coming back to you.
Thank you very much. thank you very much for your presentation. Actually, I think that it was very interesting. Yes, and yeah, if I can say something, I think that maybe with ChatGPT, it's something that is closer to everyone. You know, it's something that you can really test, and everyone can test. So this is probably the sentence of Bill Gates. You know, it's actually true. Okay, so let's see if we have some question. So Enrico.
Enrico, yeah, I read it already. So yeah. What did I mean? It's a good question. So basically, what I mentioned about the data, actually on that graph, I think they're not considering the synthetic data. It was like data that we are creating ourselves and from Internet of Things, right? So we are creating much more data that is accessible through that way. But it is completely true, and this is the prediction. And I heard recently that basically we are going to absorb all of the, let's say, human and device-created data until the year 2026. And from then, most of the data is going to be synthetic data. And then synthetic data is also having like very interesting risks and consequences if we are going to feed those models with the synthetically created data. But the graphs that I was putting in the presentation, I think that they were not considering the synthetic data at all. But very, very good observation. So let's see the next one.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, then we have a question by Nuno. I think he was asking you know, something about the so do you see project management software that do all the 12 steps when the 12 steps, I think it's yeah, so the visionary, creative, strategic project management. So yeah, what do you say?
I understand the question, and this version of question is very oftenly asked, and I would say with a good reason. So I would put it like this. Today, I agree. I think that artificial intelligence can't beat human brain in something that is more complex, that has more stages, right? Because it doesn't understand context yet, and it doesn't have the long-term memory currently. But from what I hear from technical experts, and this is what I kind of addressed in one of my small surveys on LinkedIn, the year 2024 might be the year of something that is called agents, right? Agents and multi-agent systems. If we get there, and I think that we are very close there, that we might see some of them in the next month or 2 or 3 months, then this problem could potentially be solved. You will have a capacity of one system that will go through all of the, whether it's 12 steps or less steps or more steps, but kind of to understand the context and connect all of them and kind of to make itself better and correct itself when it sees that something was not good. So usually, and this is something that we've commented on many conferences, short-term artificial intelligence will not replace people, but people who are going to use artificial intelligence tools are going to replace people who are not using artificial intelligence tools. But this is only short-term. In the midterm, I'm not completely sure. And I think that this year is going to be very interesting to give us very concrete answers to exactly that question.
Yeah, which I think that is also related with the next question, that is, if ChatGPT is obsolete, what's next? So this was also partially asking this question, isn't it? So because Louise was saying, well, what's next? So this could be something that is next.
Yeah. We have a question from Alex.
Yeah, we have a question from Alex. Yeah, we have a lot of questions actually.
Yeah, so to answer the Alex, I will prepare some kind of summary of this presentation, not send all of it, but the most important parts on your request. It will be available for all who are present on the webinar. Then yeah, if ChatGPT is obsolete, what's next?
Yes, Louise.
We kind of answered it, but it's very hard to estimate because probably some of you heard or read about Sora, right? So Sora is the newest OpenAI product, which is basically text to video, right? and it looks amazing. And this is something that the best tech experts predicted 1 year ago, and most of other people could not even imagine it, or not even imagine it, but the quality of videos like 6 months ago was relatively bad, and now it's like seriously good, like very close to perfect. So this is the problem for us, and to return to this exponential curve, unfortunately, it is very hard for us to predict things because they're happening so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay,
then we have
Alfredo. Alfredo, I read it. Which has the most remarkable impact? Well, thanks for the compliment first. The second, so I'm following closely. I'm trying to follow the health industry, the education industry, and the military / cybersecurity industry. And the science itself, right? So for me, the most remarkable impact that I found, and I mention it very often when I'm presenting different cases from all the different areas, is in the science. So basically you have, and it's not that new, it's even before 2020. So you have an article in the Nature, the scientific magazine, who said that with the artificial intelligence, the scientists solved the structure of the 3D structure of the proteins, right? So, and that fact alone is kind of causing, they're predicting that it's going to change everything in medicine, right? It is so significant. But why it is so impressive? Of course, if it's going to change medicine, it is impressive itself. But what was even more interesting for me, if you put numbers on it, how much time it saved us. And this is the quote that I heard from our local general director of Google, right? And he said something that sounded incredible. He said it saved us 1 billion years of research. So not a million, but billion, right? And I was like, wow, that's impossible. That sounds like some kind of headline from the newspapers that is just fake. But then I got to calculating it, and there is some calculation, very reasonable one behind it. And really, it seems that it saved us like 1 billion of years of years per person of development in this field, which for me is incredible. This is just the one to mention here.
Good. Okay, then I think that we have the question by Mohamed that is asking, it's asking a very interesting question. So how can AI be integrated into the existing project management processes, so to optimize project outcomes while respecting the organizational goal and stakeholder expectation? There are some recommendations and steps that you need to undertake. And I think that I even have something on the slides after the ending. But first of all, we need to be aware of the tools. This is the problem. Because in any field, most of the experts are not aware of the specific tools that are existing exactly for them, right? And then my recommendation would be start small. Start with small steps, right? Start with ChatGPT. I mentioned here, although briefly, but things that you can do even with the ChatGPT, which is like one basic for many technical experts, even kind of unimpressive AI tool, right? But you can do miracles with it. And this is the most important part. You start using it, you start learning about it, and then a lot of different implementations will pop up in your mind. So it's process. You cannot just take it and deploy it and the organization is just going to use it. It's not going to happen like that. And this is why I put this quote. For one side, a lot of people are kind of disappointed because it is not that impactful. But it's not impactful because we didn't spend time to think about how are we going to use it? What are the possibilities that we are having? When I say we, I think that, like, statistically speaking, most of us. There are many still experts around the world which are, I'm sure, today doing miracles with the implementation and kind of integration of AI tools with the project management process. Okay. Yeah. Can you see any examples of projects that have already used AI successfully? How did they do this? Yeah. There are, and I think that there are some even scientific research that are kind of summarizing it.
There are in this, so I have like the document which is giving you the hyperlink, okay, how we use the ChatGPT with what prompts to generate what kind of outputs, right? So you need to create some kind of forms and fill them in. You need to create some kind of reports. You need to integrate in. A lot of project managers are doing a lot of operational tasks, like reminding somebody that there is a deadline, right? So even when you use some very simple AI tools, it will save you a lot of time for automating those tasks. But what is, for me, even more important coming from this question, this is exactly something that IPMA should focus on in the next future, right? Kind of let's discover our own best cases and describe them, right?
Yeah.
And then write kind of a book, write examples and share it, because knowledge sharing is very important.
Yeah, that would be great, I think. Also because it's it's a topic where we have many skeptical people still, so it's which I think it's fair, because it's a new
very good
topic
to be
and
skeptical.
very new.
It's great.
Exactly, it's very fair. And I think that also the next question. So Mohamed is saying, how can we reconcile the potential for AI to surpass human intelligence exponentially? So there is this risk. What can we do to protect from this? And I would add also, since there is another question which is about ethics a little bit. So what are your thoughts in terms of AI magnifying bias and AI confabulation? So what can happen in that case? So I think that the question might be connected.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of layers here. I think that answering first to Mohammed, so what safeguards strategies could be implemented? This is, first of all, part of it is coming from the field that I'm also engaged with, the ethics of artificial intelligence. First, you need to define, and this is very different across the world, what is okay for you, what is acceptable for you, what kind of the approach. In Europe, we will have in a few months EU AI Act, which is kind of defining what we could or should do or not do, right? So then, as a consequence, there are going to be many things in the project managers, how to deal with and what to do and not to do. Regarding the big data application in the current projects, what I heard of and what I read it, and it made a lot of sense for me, is using the historic data in making the first predictions, right? Because imagine if you're doing one project, but basically now in the databases with the big data, you have like thousands or even hundreds of thousands of data connected with thousands of projects, right? So then you can use this data to make better predictions and to, for example, predict risks, predict outcomes and challenges that you're going to face in your project. Because like, even if you're the smartest project manager in the world, they're like, I don't know, 100,000 project managers and their experience inside of the database that is coded. So it would be very often useful to use that experience when you're doing your projects and making estimations. Bias is a tough question, right? And I'm having one lecture that is like AI ethics specifically. I think it is very valid current problem, and it's going to remain problem for some time, because all of those algorithms are basically reflecting on our previous data and our previous errors, right? So you can see a lot of discrimination based on the skin color, based, I don't know, on the religion, on the gender, males and females and stuff like that. So there are many initiatives around the world who are trying to solve this problem on the philosophical, ethical level, but also on the technical level, like how to code it. Because once that you code it inside of some kind of AI system, it is very hard to extract it out, right? You cannot kind of recode it. You need to start the training again, which is very expensive.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay, then we have a couple of questions about Gemini, right? So what about Gemini from Google? And Gemini is integrated in Bird. So I think that these are more technical opinions that they're asking.
Yeah, in Bard.
Whether you're using, you have already tried
so
it.
I'm most dominantly using ChatGPT, but then Perplexity and Gemini also. So it was Bard until recently, because they're giving a little bit different answers. So sometimes the other answer is a little bit better. So I'm kind of comparing them. It seems that Gemini is quite good, but still in some parts lagging from the OpenAI solutions. But we will see how it's going to develop in the future. Like I said, currently I'm kind of consulting all of them in parallel.
Okay, and then I think that we can close maybe with the question by Nuno. Do you have any experience on AI solving complex, huge problems? So he is basically comparing the experience of himself. So he's saying, I'm 3 decades and I've learned a lot of things and I have solved huge problems. Do you think that ChatGPT is able to do that? So what are the differences also in terms of imagination? Of course, that's quite an interesting question.
Yeah, very interesting one. So the answer is easy. I don't have experience in solving the complex, huge problems, right? I tried to solve some of the, let's say, medium complexity problems, and it was with limited success, right? Most of my problems and the business things that I'm dealing with are, I would say, in the range of relatively simple ones, statistically speaking, right? And this means to me maybe currently even more, because on my daily or weekly basis, it's better for me to solve 10 small tasks than one huge, and I'm not dealing with a huge task, to be honest, right? I'm not trying to find a cure for cancer, or I don't know, do something in the space exploration. I think that ChatGPT would have some limitations there, but its purpose is also kind of to free all of those people who are working on the very complex problems to save more time to focus their brain power on the complexity and not to kind of to solve it, as it was mentioned in the presentation, on the mundane routine tasks, right? Because even if you have the smartest people in academia or in businesses, they are still doing on a daily basis a lot of very simple operational tasks, right? Even up to 50%, even more, right? So if we be able to free that time and tell them, okay, now you really focus on something that is really complex, the strategy. Actually, when you mentioned it to me, I don't know if this is going to be adequate example, but I was speaking maybe 2 or 3 months ago with the board member of one of our biggest companies in the country. So it's like a multi-billion company. And the board member told me, kind of like semi-anonymously, he told me not to share the name of the company, but he told me, look, I was preparing the strategy of the company. So like the overall strategy for the next 2 years. And I have one of the most demanding boards in the country. So basically every document like that, they would rip it off, right? They would really kind of challenge it. And he told me, I created it with the help of ChatGPT. I gave him the request, the prompt, and told him, okay, give me in this branch the strategy for this, and this. And he told me it created like a really good document that I kind of used like almost 100%. And board was very satisfied. He said, okay, like this is it, completely believable. We understand it. We agree with that. Yeah. So this is, I think, the closest to my experience with problem solving of the really huge problems.
Well, I think that I fully agree with you. And working in academia, we have some experience in using ChatGPT, and maybe what we see is that it's not solving problem actually, but maybe it can help you in giving you a different perspective. So it's suggesting something new, for example. So something that you had never thought about, and it's giving you as a possibility. So it's kind of it's suggesting you new avenues to look at, and then you are still the solver, but maybe you have more perspective to look at. So it's kind of great support in this sense.
I completely agree.
Okay, I think that we have no more questions. So
and we arrived on time.
And we arrived on time, so we were very good in managing time as well. And thank you very much, Axel, for this presentation. I think it was very, very insightful, very interesting, and you gave us a lot of perspective. So I think that also the attendants are really happy. and hope to see you next time.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure, and thank everybody in the audience for the very interesting question. I'm sure that we could discuss it a lot longer, especially if we were in person somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, sure. So thank you very much, and
thank you, and bye-bye.
have a nice day. Bye-bye.